Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, the big winners. We're going to talk about that and what it means for everybody else and what our duty is in the upcoming months. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Welcome to the program, friend. There are two items that separate this show from virtually every other show on television or radio. Number one, we are theocentric. Number two, I advise you on what to do. That's it. There are some great hosts out there, but very few at the national level that are syndicated like this program. Very few are Christocentric, theocentric. That means Christ-centered, God-centered. We try and use the Word of God, the laws of God as the plumb line, okay? And the second thing is, I'm always encouraging you to do something. This is not merely a place to get information, but I want to be the philosophical arms dealer for the right-hand side of your brain to help motivate you to get out of your easy chair, out of your pew, and to fight for righteousness and justice. So as we look at the New Hampshire results, please understand those two issues of plumb line from God's laws and my encouragement to you to fight, they're going to be a part of the equation. All right. Bernie Sanders beat Hillary. He didn't beat her. He trounced her. 60-38. Now, the thing about Bernie Sanders is that he is an honest socialist. He's an honest socialist. When I watch him, I almost never get the feeling, if ever, frankly, that he's lying to me. This is a man who says, I'm going to tax the rich. I'm going to force I'm going to force taxpayers to pay for everyone's college education. Hillary, on the other hand, says, I'm like Bernie, and I'm going to fight Wall Street too. And you think to yourself, no, I really don't think you're going to fight Wall Street. After you retired as Secretary of State, knowing that she was going to run for president, she went and spoke to them and amassed some $675,000 in speaking fees. And we don't know how much some of the Wall Street fat cats gave to the Clinton Foundation. Okay? So when I listen to Hillary speak, I almost always feel like I'm listening to a deceiver, to someone who's lying to me. Something sinister is going on. Bernie Sanders, he's just right up front. I believe in killing babies. I believe in homosexual marriage. I believe in socialism. We're going to have universal health care, single-payer health care. We're going to have free college for everyone. And he said last night that they're going to greatly relieve student debt if he's elected. That means forgive, by the way. Because if he got his wish and he had free college for everyone up to senior year in college, well, how can all those people that are paying year after year on their student loan, how can they have a different deal? They will figure out a way. Now, let me speak freely to you for a moment. All right? Here's the plumb line. The commandment of God says, the commandments say, 6 days labor, 7th day rest. The commandment of God says if a man doesn't work, he shouldn't eat. The commandments of God say you shall not steal. The command of God says you shall not covet your neighbor's goods. Okay? You still with me? Communism and socialism, which is communism light or communism on the half shell, communism and socialism are based on the predicate that you can earn your living off the sweat of another man's brow. Okay? It's a form of slavery. Now stay with me. Just stay with me. There are people in this country who do not have children. And they are forced to pay for other people's children to go to school. Right? We have free public education from K through 12. Some people are saying we should have the first 2 years of college. Some people like Bernie Sanders and all saying we should have all 4 years of college for an undergraduate degree, bachelor's degree. What's the difference? In other words, those of us who are conservative, those of us who are trying to maintain an equilibrium that shies away from socialism and towards freedom, we say, no, we don't want 4 years of free education for college. To which I say, why not? We already have K through 12. There's people who don't have any kids. They've got a gun to their head, and if they don't pay for their neighbors' kids to be educated in K through 12, they're going to lose their home. There's already federal money from federal income tax that's being taken from taxpayers and then redistributed to schools all over the country to pay for children K through 12. And then, on top of it, those of us who use private education or homeschooling for our children, we not only have to pay for other kids to go to school, we then still have to pay for our own children's education on top of it. Does that seem just to you? Well, if it seems just to you, then why not 4 more years? Why not college? I mean, let's be consistent. Or his insistence on a single-payer healthcare system. Taking the ethics aside right now, the ethics aside, according to Bernie Sanders' numbers, and Hillary for that matter, there's still 29 million people uninsured in America. That's not many. That's less than 10% of the population. Well, Medicare and Medicaid are entirely or partly picking up the bill for tens of millions of people. In other words, we already have socialized medicine. It just doesn't cover everyone. And the system is kind of weird because in addition to socialized medicine, we still have a private insurance industry, not to mention the pharmaceuticals that appear to be ripping people off. So we're a convoluted socialist mess, and we just need to admit it. We need to admit, Christians need to admit, many of us need to admit, I believe in socialism. I believe in government education. I believe in Medicare. I believe in Medicaid. That we have to own it. The ethics aside. The ethics aside. So when we see someone like Bernie Sanders, and we're like, oh, I can't believe this. This is an outrage. Is it really? Or are we just shocked that somebody would be so honest about being a thief who covets another man's goods? Friend, we are in the middle of producing a 14-part epic television series called What Would Mohammed Do?, explaining Islam and ISIS to the West. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, and I have studied ancient Islamic texts for over a decade. And we are going to do a very paced and a very scholarly look at Muhammad's life and see the connection of his life to today's headlines. Well, we need your help on 3 levels. 1, we need help with some security measures. 2, we need help with some gear for the studio. And 3, we need help with some computers. I'm inviting you to go to the GoFundMe site that you see on the screen and watch the pilot for episode 1. You'll get a feel for what it's going to be, and I promise you, you're going to be excited. You'll be challenged, and you're going to want your friends to see it. And then after you've seen it, give what you can to help us with this project. Thank you. Listen, I admit it. Watching Bernie Sanders is just flat out refreshing. Please don't get mad at me, because he's an honest socialist. When I watch a dishonest Republican talk about fighting back Obamacare and we're not going to be a socialist nation, not that many of them say that, I feel jaded because it's so hypocritical. All right? It really is. And Bernie Sanders is just flat out saying, I'm a socialist, and we're going after the rich, and we're going after Wall Street. And I don't know if his numbers are correct. I've got to find out where he's getting his numbers. But when he says that the top 20 people in America have more wealth than the bottom 50%, if that number is even remotely close, I smell a rat. I admit it. There's something that is fundamentally unholy about that. Not just unjust, unholy. Because you have to ask the question, how could that have happened? Something somewhere is rigged. And even Trump, who's a billionaire, has said he's going after the hedge funds. He's going after certain elements of Wall Street that are either using the rules unfairly or using rules that are corrupt, put in place by Bush the Younger and by Obama. All right, we'll find out. We'll dig deeper to see how close Bernie's numbers really are. But it's so populist. It's so populist. Let's go ahead and play a little clip of Bernie Sanders' speech just to feel the energy in the room.
We have sent the message that will echo from Wall Street to Washington, from Maine to California. And that is that the government of our great country belongs to all of the people and not just a handful of wealthy campaign contributors and their super PACs. Tonight, with what appears to be a record-breaking voter turnout, because of a huge voter turnout, and I say huge, we won because we harnessed the energy and the excitement that the Democratic Party will need to succeed in November.
And by the way, did you know, you feel that enthusiasm. There's an army of young people in that room. He took 85% of the 30-year-old and under vote. Friend, I have been involved in politics, in campaigns, in my own campaigns. I have been involved in analyzing political data for decades, okay? I've never seen or heard of numbers like that. 85%. The man is 74 years old. I think Hillary is 68 or 69. The only demographic that she won in was people 65 and older. He beat her with women 53 to 47. Okay, that's a large margin. He slaughtered her with young people. It may be that these numbers are insurmountable. It truly may be. Now, she's got a way better ground game than him in the other states that are coming up. So I'm not writing Hillary off, but I'm telling you, she's in big trouble. Because if that youth energy translates into other states, he'll have an army of foot soldiers that are going to clean Hillary's clock. When we come back, we'll play a little bit of Donald Trump's speech and make some comments there about things that concern me. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the two most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these two books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. In social revolution, peaceful social revolution, there are rules. And those rules have been established by social revolutions of the past, and the Christian community in America has failed to obey a lot of those rules, and that's why we keep losing. I put together Insurrect the Next, a 14-part television series on the history and the theology of social revolution. I encourage you to watch it. It will make you a force for righteousness, for social revolution. When you think of scary, what do you picture? I picture this. She was actually scary. I don't want to hear her voice on today's program, but just look at her. Look at the anger in her eyes. Look at the vibe around her. She is so angry. She was trounced by Bernie Sanders, 60-38. She lost in every single demographic. He raised more money than she did last month, 20 million to 15 million. And last night, after his victory, he raised $2.6 million, in spite of the fact that the fundraising website crashed because so many people were trying to give donations. This is a scary, angry woman. And her people right now are scared. She's scary, and they're scared because her numbers have never gone up. Did you know that? When she starts in a race, her numbers never go up. They only slowly go down. It happened when she ran for president. It happened when she ran for the U.S. Senate in New York, and it happened now. So the Clinton campaign is in deep trouble, but don't count them out yet. All right, let's go to Trump. Trump is an honest guy, I believe, most of the time. Like Bernie Sanders, there's an honesty there. Listen to what he says and listen to what he doesn't say.
Healthcare. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. It is a total disaster. We're repealing and replacing Obamacare. It's gone. We're getting rid of Common Core. We're going to educate our children locally. We educate our children locally. We are going to preserve our very sacred Second Amendment. There's not going to be any more chipping away at our Second Amendment. If we had protection in California recently and so many other places, you could even look to Paris. Paris has the toughest gun laws in the world. France has the toughest gun laws in the world. These animals go in, they start shooting 1, 2, 3, 130 people, with many people horribly wounded right now in the hospital. If there were bullets going in the other direction, believe me, it would have been a whole different story, folks. But nobody had protection. I am going to be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. Remember that. Don't believe those phony numbers when you hear 4.9 and 5% unemployment. The number's probably 28, 29, as high as 35. In fact, I even heard recently 42%. Do you think we'd have gatherings like this if we had 5% unemployment? Do you really think we'd have these gatherings? Forgetting about security, forgetting about ISIS, which, by the way, we're going to knock the hell out of ISIS. We're going to knock the hell out of them. And it's going to be done the right way. We are going to start winning again. We don't win anymore as a country. We don't win on trade. We don't win with the military. We can't beat ISIS. We don't win with anything. We are going to start winning again, and we're going to win so much. You are going to be so happy. We are going to make America so great again, maybe greater than ever before. I love you all. Thank you, New Hampshire. Thank you. Thank you, New Hampshire. Thank you. We are going now to South Carolina. We're going to win in South Carolina. I love you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So you hear him clearly. Oh, yeah, again, in 3, 2. So you hear him clearly. What's he talking about? Get rid of Obamacare. I'm sure that he'll do it. We don't know what's going to come in its place. Repeal Common Core. That I believe he'll do, and that really resonates with people. We see him talking about protecting the Second Amendment. He's a recent convert. He says he carries, and he rightly points out that if people in California or in Paris were able to defend themselves, all right, I'm going to be the greatest jobs creating president God ever made. Well, he's acknowledging God, and I think he means it. I think there's a sincerity there. We're going to knock the hell out of ISIS, and we're going to do it right. I believe he means that as well. We're going to win, win, win. There's something about this that is incredibly inspirational to people. The problem is what I'm not hearing. I didn't hear a single word about defunding Planned Parenthood. I didn't hear a single syllable about marriage. Now, in South Carolina, it's not just a southern state, it's super conservative, highly evangelical. So in Iowa, you had a big evangelical contingent that helped Cruz. In New Hampshire, very few people there identify as evangelicals, relatively speaking. And in South Carolina, there are a lot of evangelicals. It's a very religious state. So we're going to watch closely over this next week to hear how many times Trump discusses defunding Planned Parenthood and putting Supreme Court justices on that will overturn Roe or restore marriage to its rightful place. I like Trump. I'm not sure how fixed his moral compass is on the two most critical issues we face, the sins that cry out to God for vengeance, shedding innocent blood and so-called same-sex marriage. I'll be right back. Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. One of the greatest joys and passions that I have had for almost my entire life is music. And one of the best times that I had was putting together some albums in Nashville of songs that I wrote. One of the albums is called Dark Sunglasses Day. This is a country album, a lot of love songs and patriotic music. We've made it available to you online, and I hope that you'll go take a listen. You might be pleasantly surprised. You might even find yourself singing along. The Declaration of Independence rightly teaches that the rights of life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and by implication throughout the Declaration, the right of private property, that these rights come from God, that we are endowed by our Creator with rights that are inalienable. We can't be separated from them. And the Declaration also rightly teaches that governments are instituted among men to protect these rights. And that when governments become destructive to those ends, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, right of owning property, that it is the right of the people to alter or abolish the government and to bring in its place a government that will do its duty to protect life, liberty, and property. Friend, the reason we have elections is so that we don't have to have wars. Always remember that. Political campaigns are so that we don't have bloodshed, assassinations, civil war, disappearances, torture, incarceration, exile. That's the option. So if you're glad that we don't have bloodshed, please participate in the political process. Please.